Hey everyone, Lewis aka Spider-Man 991 here with another weekly review where this time I will be reviewing the story arc known as The Button, which is crossing over in Batman and The Flash with their 21st and 22nd issues respectively. Alright, so basically what happens in Batman number 21 is the issue opens up with Saturn Girl, who is still in prison in Arkham Asylum, watching a Gotham vs. Metropolis hockey game before freaking out because she knows that during this game one player kills another. While she's freaking out, the guards restrain her. Then we cut to the Batcave. Batman's continuing his investigation with the comedian's Button, still observing it, but then when he decides to give it a rest for the night, he puts the Button right next to Psycho Pirate's mask, which suddenly triggers a bolt of energy between the two objects. Then when Batman notices it, the energy fires at him. When it does, Batman temporarily sees a vision of his father, but specifically the Flashpoint version of his father, Flashpoint, who became Batman after Bruce was gunned down in the alley instead of Thomas and Martha. Of course, after this vision fades away, Batman immediately calls Flash and tells him to come to the Batcave because he's made a breakthrough with the Button. And of course, Flash says, "I'll be there in a minute," and I mean an actual minute. A few seconds later, though, Batman senses a speedster arrive, but it's not Flash, it's the Reverse Flash. Reverse Flash and Batman then get into a fight that actually does last 1 minute. Fortunately, Batman is able to hold his own. And even though Batman is able to last for the entire minute before the Flash can get here, Reverse Flash does manage to knock Batman out before he notices the Button. And as soon as Reverse Flash touches the Button, he mysteriously vanishes and then reappears both times in a mysterious blue light. You know where that's going. However, when Reverse Flash reappears, half his body is burnt off, and he's just saying to himself, "God, I've seen God," and then passes out and dies due to his injuries. Then of course Flash shows up and says, "Hey Bruce, sorry I'm late. I was trying to stop that one hockey player from killing another." Holy shit! When he finds Batman and the Reverse Flash both in a major wreck in the Batcave. And that's basically where the issue ends. This was definitely a big opening to this story arc. Unlike Superman Reborn, which is another key arc I think they're setting up for Rebirth, this one is definitely more Watchmen heavy. First, in fact, I would say the entire issue, the way that it's formatted, will be an homage to Watchmen itself, because in this issue, the way they formatted it was similar to how the Watchmen issues were. For example, the opening with Saturn Girl, they sort of opened it up the same way they opened the entire series up, which was at first a close-up of the Watchmen Button in the gutter and slowly zooming out, which they also did with Arkham Asylum, showing the hockey game, then zooming out before revealing it's in Arkham. Also, homages in other panels, such as Batman viewing all the monitors he has, looking at the Button, is similar to the way Ozymandias viewed all the monitors from all the news stations right before he launched his ultimate scheme. And there's also, the really thing that I thought was clever was, most of this issue, the pages are pretty much laid out in a 9-panel grid. Basically a 3x3 grid, which is basically what the issues of Watchmen were also formatted in. The only time they break away is with that Saturn Girl scene, and also when Reverse Flash first appears in the Batcave and immediately punches Batman. But honestly, I think using the issue itself to homage the Watchmen story arc is a good idea. It also sends the reader the message that this will definitely be a lot more Watchmen heavy than the last sort of major arc we had with the Superman titles. And this was a good opener because I also felt like it leaves the reader asking a lot of questions, specifically about the Button itself. For example, the one thing that I kind of focused on was why it was Psycho Pirate's mask that reacted with the Button that caused that spark that sort of, by the way, if you've read Flash, last issue, I believe it was issue number 19, they teased the return of Reverse Flash. They had Reverse Flash come back, basically restore him to Eobard Thawne, and then, at least the pre-New 52 version of Eobard Thawne was restored before he went off to the Batcave. It's most likely that, so obviously the Button and the mask reignited the spark of the original Reverse Flash. Of course, the reason I think that it was the Psycho Pirate's mask specifically is because Psycho Pirate's mask grants him the ability to manipulate emotions. And one of the key arcs of Watchmen was Dr. Manhattan, was basically at the beginning of Watchmen, Dr. Manhattan had basically forsaken all of humanity, all human emotions, but by the end of the story, he rediscovered humanity and by association emotions. So I think the mask with the button somehow unlocked the emotional connection that did eventually lead to Dr. Manhattan. Now, I want to point out though that I forgot to mention this in my summary, but Batman only attempted to touch the button before the energy shocked back at him and he saw the vision of Flashpoint Batman. He never actually physically touched it. When Eobard Thawne touched the button, he was just basically directly transported to Dr. Manhattan, and of course Manhattan killed him. And also, when Reverse Flash did come back, he was not, I made sure to double check the panels, and it did not look like he was holding the button when he came back. So I'm not entirely sure what this means. Maybe the button is still in the cave and they just didn't draw it in detail. Who knows, maybe, who knows, but I am very intrigued by it. I'm very intrigued by what's going to happen. Will the Flash and Batman actually meet Dr. Manhattan before this arc ends? Will we figure out where Dr. Manhattan actually is? Because the only clue that we have was at the end of Superman Reborn with Mr. Oz talking about Manhattan and then showing a panel of Mars. And again, Watchmen, after Manhattan was pretty much through with humanity, he built himself his own little retreat on Mars. Now the issue itself, if you want my honest opinion about the issue itself, it was very good. I liked it a lot. There was a lot of setup here, but I think that's good. It leaves the reader asking for more questions. Also, the artwork in it is fantastic. I really like the way Jason Fabok drew the fight between Batman and the Reverse Flash. So yeah, overall, part one of the Button arc, awesome. I cannot wait to read the rest of this, and I highly recommend it to fans of Watchmen to check it out as well. Okay, so that's it for me. Stay tuned next week when I get to part 2 of the Button, which will take place in Flash number 21. What did you guys think of this video? Let me know in the comments below. If you want to check out any of the other comics I review, I did also do a weekly review for Superman Reborn. If you want to check that out, I'll put a link somewhere for the playlist. Thanks again for watching. I'm Spider-Man 1991 saying, see you later.